Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see everybody this morning. Hopefully, everyone out there who is watching this either live or on the replay had a fantastic Thanksgiving yesterday. Hopefully, you were able to spend some time with friends, family, loved ones. Hopefully, you weren't at Cracker Barrel working. I passed by a Cracker Barrel yesterday and there was a packed full parking lot. So, I guess some people celebrated their Thanksgiving at Cracker Barrel. Nothing wrong with that. Not everybody likes to cook. Not everybody has family or anything to spend time with. So you got to get yours where you can. So I hope everyone out there though had an enjoyable time yesterday. We had the day off in terms of NBA, but there was some pretty good NFL action. I won a few bucks playing some Josh Allen over 0.5 passing yards. I won a few bucks playing Ezekiel Elliott over 0.5 rushing touchdowns. So that ended up working out for me. Ended up being a profitable day. Went pretty light yesterday though overall. So we're back on the grind today looking at some NBA action here on Black Friday. We've got 12 NBA games and one of these games tips off super early, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. So kind of an interesting slate of games. There'll be games basically on all day long. So once you're done doing your online shopping, or maybe you're one of the crazies who wants to run out there and deal with the madness that is Black Friday, then you could come home, settle in, and sweat some NBA picks tonight. So good morning to all of you who are in the stream this morning. A-Dub, good to see you. Ready to make some money, not spend money on Black Friday? I hear you on that one. Michael, what's happening? Let's go. Good morning to you too. My Thanksgiving was awesome. I had plenty of food, ate some leftovers for breakfast, and that's the way it went for me, man. So John, good to see you. Ronald's is back up in the building. Brian, yo, yo, yo. Mind of Reese. He took a week off from PrizePicks, but now he's back and he's ready to run it up. I hear you on that one. I think we got a good slate today. Lots of different ways that we could go. J-Red, yo, what's happening? DB, got off the schneid and hit a 3-pick power last night. Good for you. G-Lo, what's happening, man? Hopefully you didn't have to murk anybody. Get on the mic on Thanksgiving and, take out any of your family members, bar for bar. Yeah, my holiday was good, G-Lo. Hopefully yours was as well. So we got 13 people up in here. We might have less, we might have more. I'm not quite sure what to think today with, the holiday. Maybe people are taking it easy on Black Friday, but we do have 12 NBA games to talk about. So, I think we gotta do our research here and land on some good picks. Matt Dog, good morning to you. Let's have a profitable Black Friday. I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. Illicit Sports Authority. Let's get it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Good Weird is in the building. Yo to you. Jared, yo, back to you. Premier, when are we going to get you on Smack again? Hey, there we go. Hey, listen, guys. I know there's 17 of you in here, but let's go ahead and get things started, man. We can't wait around forever, right? If you're part of the notification gang, well, then you know what to do. You're already in the building. You got those notifications turned on. Make sure you are subscribed, though. Let's try and get this video up to 100 likes. We did it in the last video. We could probably do it again, right? I believe in you guys. Let's see if we could run it back. Starting things off, as I mentioned, an early game, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, the Detroit Pistons visiting the Los Angeles Clippers. For the Detroit side, we've got Killian Hayes and Frank Jackson on the game time decision report. No Kelly Olynyk, he's been ruled out. He's dealing with a knee injury. Nick Batum, Kawhi Leonard as game time decisions for the Clippers. The next game, 7 p.m., the Chicago Bulls at the Orlando Magic. I will be at this game. That is what I'm doing today. I'm taking off from Tampa, heading out to Orlando around 3 o'clock, and I will be at this game in person. Hopefully the Magic can muster up a fight here and play the Chicago Bulls tough, but I'm not holding my breath. But it will be fun to see a game live in person. It's been a couple of years for me. Terrence Ross and Cole Anthony are the big injury news pieces to take a look at for the Orlando Magic. Keep an eye on them. 7 p.m., Phoenix Suns at the New York Knicks. We've got Dario Saric and Frank Kaminsky out for Phoenix. Over on the New York side, keep an eye on Mitchell Robinson, Taj Gibson, and Derrick Rose. They are all currently game time decisions. 7 p.m., the Minnesota T-Wolves visit the Charlotte Hornets. We've got Okogie on the game time decision list. We've got Pat Beverly already ruled out. Mason Plumlee for Charlotte is a game time decision. Moving on down to 8 p.m., Toronto Raptors at Indiana Pacers. OG Anunoby, definitely got to keep an eye out on him. If he's out, then I continue to go back to guys like Gary Trent, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes. But with OG in the lineup, could cut into some of their production a little bit. Moving down to the next game, the Washington Wizards at the Oklahoma City Thunder. We've got Rui Hachimura as the biggest injury piece here for the Wizards side. Over on the Oklahoma City side, SGA Gilgeous-Alexander continues to sit out for the Thunder. 8 p.m. Atlanta Hawks at the Memphis Grizzlies. We've got Bogdanovich as a game-time decision. No DeAndre Hunter, continues to sit for Atlanta. And then over on the Memphis side, Melton is a game-time decision. Moving it down to 8:30, Boston Celtics at San Antonio Spurs. Josh Richardson, Jaylen Brown, both game-time decisions for Boston. Then we got Robert the Time Lord Williams, who has already been ruled out here for Boston. So no Robert Williams. Maybe we go back to Al Horford. He's been doing pretty well, stepping into more of a dominant role without Robert Williams in there. And then over on the San Antonio side, we got Doug McDermott and Devin Vassell, both game time decisions. Those are probably your biggest injury pieces from San Antonio. 9 p.m. brings us the New Orleans Pelicans at the Utah Jazz. Zion Williamson is a game time decision. We got Royce O'Neal as a game time decision. Wait, Zion Williamson. No, he's out. He's not a game time decision. Royce O'Neal is a game time decision though. 9 p.m. Milwaukee Bucks at Denver Nuggets. We got Dante DiVincenzo, Brook Lopez already ruled out. Over on the Denver side, we got to keep an eye on Nikola Jokic, who is a game time decision. Man, these allergies are getting me. Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. obviously out. PJ Dozier, I think, is going to be out for the rest of the season too for Denver. Getting into the late games, Portland Trail Blazers at the Golden State Warriors. We got Simons as a game time decision for Portland. Over on the Golden State side, Wiseman, Iguodala, Klay Thompson, all ruled out. And then finally, the late night hammer, 10:30 p.m., the Sacramento Kings versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Keep an eye on both Harrison Barnes and Rashawn Holmes. They are currently both game time decisions, as is the King LeBron James, also a game time decision. All right, there you go. 12 games, guys. 12 games. Good morning to everybody who has joined the chat this morning. What's up to you, Nick? Happy Thanksgiving to you. Happy Black Friday now as we move into the festive holiday shopping. Lackey, good morning to you. What's up? Alan, let's get this money. I agree with you. Anthony, back in the building. Longtime Patreon supporter, longtime Discord member. Good to see Anthony up in here this morning. Let's get them Black Friday deals. That's right. PrizePicks will be running Black Friday promotions on various player props. We don't know which ones, at least I don't, throughout the day. So keep an eye on the PrizePicks board. If you don't play on PrizePicks yet, you can check them out using the link down below. You'll get a 100% instant deposit match using promo code Curry. So they're going to do a dollar for dollar match. Anything that you put in, they'll match it up and give you double your money. How you doing? Was hoping you were going to go live today. Happy Thanksgiving, bro. Yeah, we are back at it. We're going to go live for a little bit and see if we can find some good player props on this 12-game NBA slate. Remy, good morning to you. Fingers crossed for a PrizePicks Black Friday special. I think we're going to get some PrizePicks Black Friday special. Also, if, while we're talking Black Friday, if you guys are interested in trying out props.cash and you haven't yet, maybe you've been on the fence, you're not sure if you want to give it a shot or not, do a couple things. Join the Discord down in the link in the description below, and then shoot me a DM. I've got a few vouchers that'll get you 25% off your first month while we're talking Black Friday specials, Black Friday deals. If you've never signed up for props.cash before and you've been thinking about it, join the Discord below, shoot me a DM, and I'll send you a voucher for you to get 25% off your first month. So instead of $19.99, it'll just be $14.99 for you. A little bit of a Black Friday deal to get you going today. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these trends. Here is our player props site of choice, props.cash. As I mentioned, just $19.99 a month gets you access to NBA, NFL, and NHL. So you got access to all three major sports right now that are going. Really a great value, saves me a lot of time, saves me a lot of additional research. So let's go ahead and take a look at the NBA trend section of props.cash. Now, one thing that I've been doing more recently is taking the split section, hitting this drop down and changing it from current season down to the last 10. So we get a more recent sample size of player trends. So let's go ahead and take a look at it here. Some of the top guys in terms of points, we've got Dillon Brooks up at 16.5 points. Now, he's currently a game time decision for Memphis. We're not sure if he's going to play or not, but at 16.5 points, dude's been hitting at a 90% hit rate, and he is currently a minus 118 to go over. So Dillon Brooks could be a good option if he does indeed lace up the sneakers and find his way out on the court. We've got him up on the PrizePicks board. He's at 18.5 points though, guys. So if you're playing him on a different site where you could get him at 16.5, I would definitely say lean toward the over here. But at 18.5 points, I think we have to dig in a little bit deeper here on Dillon Brooks. So let's do just that. Got to take a look at Dillon Brooks at 18.5 because that might be a little bit too high, a little bit too rich for our taste. We might end up having to go under here on Dillon Brooks at 18.5. Let's look at it though. 16.5, we're going to look at the last 10 games. He doesn't have 10 games in his game log as he missed a lot of the start of the season. But if we look at his last 5 games, 4 out of 5 going 80% at covering 16.5 points. But things are a little more difficult on PrizePicks, so we're going to jack him up to 18.5, and you can see that hit rate has now dropped down to 60%. So he's not covering 18.5 as well as he does 16.5. So this could be a little bit of a tricky prop. Already mentioned he's a minus 118 to go over 16.5. If you look at his averages over the course of the season, 19.4 points per game. And because he's played such limited games, that's the same average you're going to see for his last 5 games. But we moved on down here. We look at this Atlanta Hawks defense. They rank 24th in total points allowed, 22nd in field goal percentage allowed, and 24th in the total 3-pointers allowed, while ranking 20th in 3-point field goal percentage allowed, and then they're 18th against opposing small forwards. This game does have a very high total and a very favorable spread, meaning it doesn't look like it's going to blow out. So we got over 226 combined points. That's the implied total. When you take the total from Memphis and the total with Atlanta, you add them together, you end up with about 226 points, with Memphis as just a 1-point favorite at home. So hopefully this game does stay close and competitive. If you're taking any props from this game and taking the overs, I think you should feel pretty safe here. You got a high total, which should mean an up-tempo game, a lot of shots going up, more rebound opportunities, and more opportunities to rack up assists and steals and blocks and everything that we like to play. So not really worried about blowouts in this one. But Brooks is getting about 26 minutes per game in his last 5 games. And that's a pretty decent average. I wish it was higher, like more like 30 or more minutes. But you get to take a look here at his last 5 games in terms of his field goal attempts. He's sitting right around 16 shots. So he gets a lot of shots up. And then his 3-point attempts, you could kind of take a look at those as well. So let's get you a projection on Dillon Brooks here. Again, he's 16.5 on most of the sports books out there, but he is 18.5 over on PrizePicks this morning. So this could be a tricky prop. So they've got him projected. Numberfire does at 18.3, which puts him close to 18.5, really close to that 18 to 19 number. But ultimately, it falls just short of 18.5. So I'm going to say if you could get him at 16.5 or maybe even 17.5 somewhere else, probably lean toward the over. At 18.5 for me, this is just too close for comfort, guys. I'm probably going to back away from this one and fade this prop. I just don't love it at 18.5. So let's talk about another guy who's been doing a darn good job at covering his points prop, and that's DeAndre Ayton at 15.5 points, currently sporting an 80% hit rate. Now, right now, we're not seeing any action on the over or the under. He is all even at minus 110. And I'm not seeing him up on the PrizePicks board yet. Oh, there he is, going against the New York Knicks at 15.5. So he's the same on your favorite sportsbook and on PrizePicks. So that's always a good thing. Looking at the last 5 games for him, he has gone over 15.5 points in 80% of his last 5 games. So that's a 4 out of 5 hit rate. So let's talk about DeAndre Ayton a little bit more here. For that, we could just type his name into props.cash and find him very, very quickly. And we look at his last 10 games, as I mentioned, 80% hit rate, both in his last 5 and his last 10. He's averaging 16 points per game over the course of the season, almost 17 in his last 10, and exactly 17 in his last 5. If we look at the previous matchups against the Knicks, this dates back to last season. He had one game where he goes under, and then one game where he goes way over 15.5. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea, maybe what to expect from DeAndre Ayton. Looking at this matchup here, we talked about it earlier. Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel are both game time decisions, or maybe it was Taj Gibson. Maybe it was Mitchell Robinson and Taj Gibson. Either way, a couple of the big guys for the New York Knicks might end up sitting out tonight. So keep an eye on the injury news. This matchup might get a lot easier here for DeAndre Ayton. In terms of points allowed, they rank 16th, do the Knicks, 5th in field goal percentage allowed, 30th in three-pointers allowed, 24th in three-point field goal percentage allowed. So if you want to take some overs from the Phoenix Suns side on three-pointers, that might be a good look here because New York does not defend the three ball very well. And they also do not defend opposing centers well at all either. They rank just 21st, one of the bottom 10 worst teams in the league at defending opposing centers. Now, if we take a look here at this total, 216 points, about a 3.5 point favorite are the Phoenix Suns on the road here. So the game has a pretty high total, decent, not super high, but also not very low either at like 200 points. So I'm liking the totals and I'm liking the spread. Doesn't look like it's going to blow out, at least not right away anyway. Ayton's getting about 30 minutes per game, attempts about 12 shots per game, and he's not really a three-point shooter. So those three-point metrics we talked about earlier, the defensive numbers for the Knicks, not really going to benefit Ayton much whatsoever here. Let's go ahead and get you a projection, though, on DeAndre Ayton, as he is looking like a pretty high hit rate guy for his points. But despite that, he is projected for just 13.1 projected points today. So that's not looking very good for DeAndre Ayton if you trust in and if you believe in these projections on NumberFire. Now, I would recommend you always cross-reference projection sites, meaning check NumberFire out, but don't just stop there. Do a little bit further research. Go to like RotoWire. They offer some free single stat player prop projections. Betting Pros is another one where you could get some free projections. So do some cross-referencing. See how these various sites are stacking up here with DeAndre Ayton, because I think 13-1 seems a little too low. This matchup could be one where I think, if guys like Mitchell Robinson, if Taj Gibson are out, maybe we get a more favorable matchup here for DeAndre Ayton, who's been going well over 15-5 in the majority of his games, 80% in his last 5, 80% in the last 10. So I'm liking some DeAndre Ayton. Some other names to maybe consider to do a little further research on: Reggie Jackson, if you could get him at 17.5 points. He's been going over that number in 80% of his games. He is a minus 118 to go over, so that's looking pretty nice. Chris Paul, 70% hit rate at 14.5 points. He is a minus 114. Again, they're taking on the Knicks. And maybe one other one here to consider: Montrezl Harrell at 14.5 points, a 70% hit rate, and a minus 118 right now to go over. So we talked about some overs. Let's go down to the bottom here and take a look at the ones that are not getting the job done. Some potential underplays here, low hit rate guys. So this again is looking at the last 10 games. This is hit rates for the last 10 games, trends from the last 10. Jared Vanderbilt, probably not going to get him up on the PrizePicks board, but at 7.5 points, he's only hit that number 20% of the time, and he's a minus 124 to go under. But I'm not seeing any Jared Vanderbilt. Oh, wait, there he is. But he's at 6'5". So again, tricky situation at 6'5", because he's actually gone over 6'5" in his last 2 games. If he was at 7'5", we'd feel maybe a little more confident about going under based on the last 10 game hit rate. So yeah, Jared Vanderbilt, don't know if I love that. Bradley Beal at 25.5 points has just a 20% hit rate. If I was a betting man, I would say that they probably have put Bradley Beal up at a lower number than 25.5. Yeah, they have. They got him up at 23.5 over on PrizePicks. Even at 23.5, he has a hard time covering that. He's only went over 23.5 in 2 out of his last 5 games. Otherwise, 21, 18, and 23 in his last 3, going under 23.5. So that could be an underplay worth looking at. Evan Fournier at 12.5 points, just a 30% hit rate. And he is currently a minus 116 to go under 12.5. Do we have Fournier up at 12.5? Nope. PrizePicks once again taking the low road here on these low hit rate guys, purposefully dropping them below where you're going to find them on most of your sports books. Now at 11.5, again, this gets a little bit tricky, right? Houston is at he scores 19. Lakers, he scores 26. But then he's got 3 games where he failed to reach double-digit scoring. So be careful with Evan Fournier. If he was at 12.5, I'd feel a little more comfortable taking the under on him. At 11.5, sure, he could still go under, but it becomes a more difficult task. Let's talk about one that is apples to apples here. RJ Barrett at 14.5 points. He is also at 14.5 on your favorite sports book, has hit this number just 30% of the time in his last 10 games. He is currently, though, a -118 to go over. So let's talk about RJ Barrett. He, to me, is one of the most inconsistent players in the league, but I guess you could make that argument about a lot of the New York Knicks lately, right? Seems like Randall and Fournier, Barrett, Kemba Walker, they're all kind of just up and down. Never know what you're going to get out of these guys. But RJ Barrett at 14.5 points has only gone over this number 3 times in his last 10 games. That's a 30% hit rate. His averages, though, in his last, over the course of the season, I should say, are about almost 15 points, which puts him slightly over this 14.5 number. But things get pretty bad here in the last 10, 11.3 points per game, 12.2 points per game in his last 5. Looking at this matchup, not a green metric here in his favor, so nothing really like positive or pro here for RJ Barrett. It's going to be kind of an average to worse, or average or harder, or average or more difficult matchup for RJ Barrett against this Phoenix Suns team. Nothing really working in his favor. 11th in points allowed. They rank 2nd in shooting guard defense, so this is going to be a tough matchup for him. Not really loving this matchup for RJ Barrett, so I would not be considering the over in this case. If we look at his last 5 games, he's getting about 30 minutes per game. Not a ton of run, actually. I would expect a young guy like him to be getting like 36 minutes, but not the case here for Barrett. He's attempting about 13 shots per game. And then in terms of 3-point attempts, about 5.2 threes going up in his last 5 games. He does get to the free throw line, but not at a high volume typically. Sits right around 3 3-point attempts. Or 3 free throw attempts. RJ Barrett, let's get a projection on his points, and then we'll move on to the next category. RJ Barrett is projected for 14.3 points, putting him slightly under 14.5. And to be honest with you, that's probably the way I would lean as well. This does look like a tougher matchup for him. Hasn't been getting the job done at 14.5 points. I'd probably be leaning toward the under on RJ Barrett as well against Phoenix. All right, so we talked about some points. We got those out of the way. You got some names on your list. Hopefully you're taking notes out there. Let's go ahead and flip things over to the assist category. We'll move things over here on PrizePicks to the assists and see which dime droppers have been hitting at a high rate and which ones haven't. Good morning to everybody who's just joining. Good to see you, Byron, Pavel, Anthony. Good morning to you, Eric. Eric says, hey, CJ, what are the day's best hit rates? What are the day's best hit rates, please? Thanks. I don't know what you mean by what are the days. Are you talking about today's? What are today's best hit rates? Well, we're looking at them. We also look at the low hit rates too, because we can take unders. Hashtag undergang is a real thing. We should be considering playing more unders than we probably do, but we like cheering for the overs, and I can't blame you. It's a lot more fun. Michael Conley Jr. in the assist category, 5.5 dimes, 80% hit rate, going over 5.5 a majority of the time here. -142 right now. Betting favorite to go over 5.5. Do we have Michael Conley Jr. up on the board for assists? No, we do not. How about Josh Hart at 2.5 assists? He has gone over in his last 10 games 80% of the time, a -120 to go over. Josh Hart for the New Orleans Pelicans, not seeing him, but he has been playing really well. I've been taking the over on his fantasy points recently, and it has been working out. Not going to see Brandon Ingram up on the board either. He's another high hit rate assist guy. How about Scotty Barnes at 3.5? He's been going over 3.5 in 80% of his last 10 games. So if we could get him at 3.5, that might be a good look. But PrizePicks is playing keep away. They're not giving us Scotty Barnes at 3.5 assists. Let's talk about one that I played the other night, though. Mikal Bridges at 1.5 assists. This dude has been Mr. Consistent in his last 5 games. He's got 2, 3, 4, 3, and 2 going over 100% of the time at 1.5 assists in 5 straight games. So let's take a look at Bridges here. Again, Phoenix going to be taking on the New York Knicks. I think I kind of like this game, targeting some overs. We talked about it being a high total game and one that should stay close, should stay competitive. Let's take a look at Bridges here at 2.5 assists. They got him at 2.5 assists out on your favorite sportsbook, but we're getting him at 1.5 here on PrizePicks. So let's dial this down to 1.5 to get an apples to apples comparison. And you can see at 1.5, a much higher hit rate, 60% hit rate in his last 10 games. If we look at his last 5 games, his hit rate is, let's dial this back in, 100%, like we talked about. He's averaging 1.8 assists over the course of the season, 2.2 in his last 10, and 2.8 in his last 5. So he's been very consistent at 1.5 assists at getting the job done here. So looking good for Mikal Bridges so far. The New York Knicks, 22nd in terms of assists allowed. So they're a very giving team, giving up over 25 assists or right around 25 assists per game to opposing players. Bridges getting well over 35 minutes per game. So I think this is an assist prop that maybe we just keep going back to. It's one of the few with a high hit rate that we have been able to exploit here on the PrizePicks board this morning. So let's go find Bridges. They've got him projected for 2 assists, which is all we need if we look to take the over on him. I think this is another strong way to go. Let's just keep going back to it, right? Until it lets us down. But I do think Bridges at 1.5 assists is one that we continue to hammer the nail on. Let's do it. All right, so we got Bridges out of the way. Let's take a look at some of these other trends here. We didn't get any of these top 4 guys. No Conley, no Hart, no Ingram, no Barnes so far out on the PrizePicks board. But if you could get them somewhere else, definitely consider taking the overs, as all of those guys have 80% hit rates at their current assist number. Devin Booker at 3.5 assists. He's also not going to be up on the board. Bradley Beal at 5.5 assists has been a very popular play in recent days. We're getting him at 5 assists against OKC tonight. Let's open up Beal's game logs. So he falls way short against New Orleans, just 1 assist in his last game against the Pelicans. But this is one of my favorite times to go back to a prop, is when a player who has been averaging, a much higher number falls short in his last game. I go right back to it. I take the over again. And at 5 assists, I think we have to consider doing that with Bradley Beal here. Because if you look at his previous 4 games, 7, 5, 9, and 9, he's gone well over 5 assists in 4 out of his last 5 games. So let's take a closer look at Bradley Beal, get an idea of which way we should be thinking about going here. At 5.5 assists, he is currently a minus 118 to go under. So not a ton of money coming in on the under, but some money definitely favoring the under versus the over at 5.5 dimes. But if we look at his last 10 games, a 70% hit rate, that's looking very good. 5.8 assists over the course of the season, 6.3 assists in his last 10 games, and 6.2 in his last 5. So if you look at the 10 game and 5 game sample size, he's gone over 6 assists pretty regularly here. I think this one here, where he had just 1 dime against the New Orleans Pelicans, he's due for a bounce back game here. So like I said, I want to go right back to it. Now, if we look at this OKC team, they are 24th in assists allowed, giving up over 25 dimes per game. So this is definitely a plus assist matchup for Bradley Beal here. The spread minus 7.5 in favor of the road team, the Washington Wizards. The total's pretty low though at 206 points. So kind of a low total, which I don't love. And then the spread being like 7.5 points, it kind of puts it on borderline blowout risk here. If we go down and look at Beal's minutes, 35 minutes in his last 5 games. So he's getting plenty of run, not really worried about him getting yanked. Unless this is a blowout situation. Let's type in Beal's name. We've got him projected at 5.2 assists. So yeah, I'd have to lean toward the over. Maybe if you play on PrizePicks, he ends up at exactly 5 assists and you're in a tie or a push situation. But I think it's worth taking a shot on the over at 5 assists. If you get him at 5.5, maybe I'd back away from this prop. Wouldn't feel as comfortable playing it at 5.5, but gun to head, I'm leaning toward the over. I think Bradley Beal will hopefully bounce back in this spot. Some other ones to consider going down here. We're going to go look at some low hit rate guys. Andrew Wiggins at 2.5 assists, just a 10% hit rate. A 10% hit rate. We're not going to get him up on the PrizePicks board at that type of hit rate. Unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. PrizePicks, again, keeping all the juicy ones away from us. Eric Bledsoe, Los Angeles Clippers at 3.5 assists, just a 20% hit rate. I'm not sure we're going to get Bled up on the board either. No, we are not. Jakob Poeltl at 2.5 assists, 20% hit rate. He's currently a big old minus 152 to go under that assist number. We're not going to get him up on the board either. Desmond Bane, he is currently not on the PrizePicks board, so not really any underplays worth looking at here. Reggie Jackson maybe at 4.5 assists. Let's see what PrizePicks has him at. They got him at 4, and I think this becomes tricky at 4. 4, 5, 2, 4, and 2. So you kind of get an idea. He's gone for 4 or more assists in 3 out of his last 5 games, but not a very consistent game log here for Reggie Jackson. So I'd probably stay away from that one. The other one that we might consider is Draymond Green, who is at 8.5 assists, just a 30% cover rate, and a minus 144 at 8.5 assists. So PrizePicks took liberties and bumped him down to 7.5 dimes. So there you go. Draymond Green, another one that is a tricky situation because of the difference that PrizePicks puts him at. If he was at 8.5, I'd lean a lot more toward the under. At 7.5, it's probably a fade for me. So let's go ahead and talk about some rebounds. We talked enough about assists. You kind of get an idea at some of the high hit rate, low hit rate assist guys. Now let's look at some of the rebound props. Some of the top hitters here. Eric Bledsoe at 3.5 rebounds. We're not going to get him on the board, but 90% hit rate at 3.5. Clint Capella at 11.5 rebounds. Let's see where PrizePicks has him up. Hopefully they do have him up, because the theme today is they're not putting a lot of these props up, but Clint Capella at 11.5 rebounds, guys. This guy was just at 13.5 was it the other night? 12.5, something like that? Well, we're getting him at 11.5 today against the Memphis Grizzlies. 16 against Orlando, 12 against Boston, 15 against Charlotte, 14 against OKC, and 13 against San Antonio. Some tough matchups in here for Mr. Clint Capella, but he seems to be getting the job done. Nonetheless, he's been crushing his rebound prop, going over 11.5 rebounds in 5 straight games. So let's take a look at Clint, the big fella, Capella, and see if going over is also the move on tonight's matchup. So we're looking at the last 10 games, 90% hit rate in his last 10 games. Hard not to love the over on Clint Capella when you got a 90% hit rate in your last 10 games. If we look at his last 5 games, the hit rate again is 100%. Things are looking mighty fine here for an over on Clint Capella, averaging 12 boards over the course of the season, 12.7 in his last 10, and a whopping 14 rebounds in his last 5 games. So you kind of see why I think Clint Capella makes for a good option here. Now he's going against Memphis, so he'll be matched up against the likes of Steven Adams, Jaren Jackson Jr. So they're pretty tough. They can kind of match up well with the likes of Capella and the likes of John Collins. They rank 10th in rebounds allowed, so they're kind of a stingy team, giving up just 44.4 rebounds per game, 13th in defensive rebounds allowed at around 35 rebounds. Their center defense sucks, 25th in the league against centers. Now, this game has a huge total, 226 points, very healthy number. Memphis, just a 1-point favorite at home. So close spread, high total, not really anything for me to be too concerned about here. Clint Capella's getting about 30 minutes per game, plenty of run, and then you can kind of get an idea how his rebounds are made up. The green indicates offensive rebounds. The red bar, the number above the red bar, indicates total rebounds. So there you go. Clint Capella looking like a good play here at just 11.5 rebounds. I think 12.5 would make it a tough decision. I think at 11.5, we just got to smash the over. This dude's projected for 14.4 rebounds. That puts him nearly 3 rebounds higher or over than his number at 11.5. High hit rate projection, the projections on Number Fire anyway are loving him to go over. I'm not really worried about this matchup. He's proven he could get it done against a variety of different matchups. So Clint Capella looking pretty sexy, not gonna lie. What's happening to all 53 of you here this morning? What's up to Oma? Osmosis Jones. He says the prop god Curry. Is that me? Prop god Curry? I like that. Marcellus is in the building. He's liking the Clint Capella over or points, really. He likes both rebounds and points. What's up to you, Said? What's up, Monty? Monty's liking the Clint Capella over rebounds. Duran says, I don't want to bet because PrizePicks is messing with my balance. Yeah, I'm still waiting on a payout, too, from yesterday's Josh Allen over 0.5 passing yards prop. I don't think it's quite settled. They haven't settled my entry yet. Angel, good to see you. Zebo, yo, what's happening, Zebo? Shot by Trees back in here too. We'll start getting to your player prop questions here in just a moment. Let's take a look at some other rebound props real quick though. We talked about Capella being a good one. Josh Giddey was a name that was brought up at 6.5 boards. He's got an 80% hit rate. Let's just take a quick look at his game logs and see if he's worth talking about. Well, he's gone over 6.5 boards in 5 straight games, 11, 12, 8, 7, and 7. So you don't think of Josh Giddey as a high rebound type of guy, but man, this dude's been getting it done low key. So you might be on to something here with this Josh Giddey suggestion, Angel. Let's go ahead and take a look at it a little bit closer for you. Giddey, Oklahoma City Thunder, has been getting a lot more run, a lot more touches, a lot more playing time with SGA out of the lineup. So looking at the last 10 games here for Giddey, he's gone over 6.5 rebounds in 8 out of 10 games. That's an 80% hit rate. His averages, 7.3 for the season, 8.3 in his last 10, and 9 in his last 5. So we're seeing a gradual increase when we look at these different average categories here for Josh Giddey. Not to mention, minus 140 at the moment. A lot of action coming in on the over at just 6.5 rebounds. Let's look at this matchup here against Washington. Not an overly difficult matchup. They're kind of a middle of the road average team in all rebounding metrics. So 14th in total rebounds, 16th in offensive rebounds, and 14th in defensive rebounds. So not a plus matchup, but also not a minus matchup here either. Just 206 points, not a ton of points expected to be scored by these two teams. And we talked about Washington, 7.5 point favorites. Giddey's minutes are up to about 32 minutes per game in his last 5, as I mentioned, getting a lot more run with no Gilgeous-Alexander around. And then you get a snapshot here of how Giddey's rebounds are comprised game to game here. Gets a few offensive boards once in a while, but mostly, like most players, a defensive rebounder. So let's get you a projection on Giddey. So far, I think with the high hit rate, we got to be looking to potentially attack the over here. And the projections agree. They've got him at 7.1 rebounds tonight. So maybe we continue to ride the hot hand here with Josh Giddey. He's been pulling in a ton of boards. Maybe he gets it done again tonight. They got him projected for 7-1. We're just worried a little bit about the blowout, but Giddey's a young guy. Even if this game does blow out, I expect him to get those 32 plus minutes. And tonight he is projected for about 32.1 minutes. So hopefully game stays close enough and he gets plenty of run to snatch those 7 boards if you're looking to take the over on him. Alrighty. Some other ones to consider in terms of overs, guys with high hit rates. Darius Bazley at 6.5 boards, 80% hit rate. Murray for San Antonio, 7.5 boards, 80% hit rate. So those are your 80 or above. You got Murray, Bazley, Giddey, Capella, and Bledsoe. All those guys, 80% or higher hit rates in their last 10 games. Going down here, we're going to look at some low hit rate guys. People who are not getting it done. Josh Hart at 7.5 rebounds for Josh Hart. No, that's got to be wrong. There's no way his line is 7.5 boards today. Josh Hart, 7.5 rebounds? That's got to be wrong. I don't see him up on the PrizePicks board, but 7.5 rebounds for Josh Hart just seems wild. Way too high. Anyway, Reggie Jackson at 3.5 rebounds, a 20% hit rate. So he is a minus 162. People are taking the under on Reggie Jackson. You're not going to find him on the PrizePicks board. Chris Middleton at 5.5 rebounds, a 20% hit rate. Let's see where they've got Chris Middleton up today, because I wrote him up for my patrons as part of my betting alpha article that I wrote up, a little write-up that I do, includes some popular player props. But Yeah, I'm not seeing Chris Middleton up on the board, but Middleton, I know at 4.5 rebounds has been smashing 4.5. So maybe that's why they've got him at 5.5, but we're not seeing him up on PrizePicks today. But if you could get Chris Middleton at 4.5 rebounds somewhere, then I would probably take the over. He's been pretty consistent at 5 or more boards. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go ahead and move it on over to some 3-point makes and see which ones are looking good here. In terms of high hit rate guys, Fred VanVleet at 2.5 3-point makes, 90% hit rate. And we are getting him at 2.5 on PrizePicks today. 4 against Portland, 3 against Utah, 2 against Sacramento, falls short, but comes back with 3 and 3 in his next 2 games against 2 tough teams, Golden State and Memphis. So Fred VanVleet at 2.5 3-point makes looks like a good way to go. They had him at 3.5 3-point makes just 1 game ago. So I faded him, ended up taking Gary Trent, and Trent ended up going over his 3-point prop at 2.5. But Fred VanVleet at 2.5 is looking pretty darn good here. So let's go ahead and take a look at VanVleet. So we'll dial things in here on props.cash. That is the site we use for our player prop research in case you've never seen it before. As I mentioned, if you want a 25% off voucher for props.cash, maybe you've never used props.cash before, maybe you'd like to try it out, this is a great time to do it. Just join the Discord. There's a link down in the description of this video, and then shoot me a DM. I'll send you a voucher to save you 25% off your first month of props.cash. So instead of $19.99 a month, you'll just be paying $14.99. It's a little Black Friday special from me and props.cash to you. So let's go ahead and make that happen. If you're interested in trying props.cash, hit me up in Discord. So anyway, Fred VanVleet at 2.5 3-point makes, looking at his last 10 games, a 90% hit rate, guys. This seems like a Black Friday deal all in itself right here. There's only 1 game where he falls short of 2.5 3-point makes in his last 10, and that was against Sacramento. But he still knocked down 2, so he was still, in the ballpark of 2.5, 3-point makes. 3.1 makes in his over the course of the season, 3.5 in his last 10, 3 makes in his last 5, and then versus Indiana, he actually knocked down 4 threes against them in a previous matchup. So let's look at that real quick. We've got 2 game logs here versus Indiana. He knocks down 6 against Indy in the first matchup, 2 against Indy in the rematch. So you average those together. That's where that 4 3-point makes average comes from. And those are both from this season back at the end of October. But a pretty good hit rate here overall for Fred VanVleet. Now, if we look at the Indiana defense, they rank 26th in 3-point field goal percentage allowed. So they're one of the most giving teams. This is a plus matchup for Fred VanVleet in terms of 3-point field goal percentage. So this means basically that Indiana, they don't give up a ton, like a high volume of threes, but the ones that do go up are going up at a very high percentage. So that's a good thing here for Fred VanVleet. They're giving up just about 11.5 3-point makes per game. You're looking at a total of around 209 to 210 points. Indiana, a 4-point favorite at home. So this game, not a very high total, but also not really worried about it blowing out according to the Vegas lines makers. Against Indiana this season, he's played about 38 minutes per game, which is an uptick versus where he's been in his last 5 games. If we go down here and look at the 3-pointed tips for VanVleet, he's getting about 8.4 threes up per game in his last 5 games. He averaged about 7 3-pointers against Indiana in those 2 previous matchups. So things are looking pretty good here. He gets a high volume of threes. Unfortunately, Numberfire does not offer you a projection for how many threes Fred VanVleet might make tonight, but check out Betting Pros. BettingPros.com will have projections for 3-point makes for some, maybe not all, but some of the players out there. So check out Betting Pros if you're interested in seeing that. All right, so that's one high hit rate 3-point make guy. Josh Hart, if you can get him at 0.5 3-point makes, he looks like also looks like a good overplay, an 80% hit rate at just a half of 3-pointer. Reggie Jackson, if you could get him at 2.5, he's not up on the PrizePicks board. 2.5 3-point makes, 80% hit rate, also a minus 148 to go over. Malcolm Brogdon's been knocking him down at a high hit rate here, 1.5 threes, a 80% hit rate, and he's a minus 200 minus 200 to go over 1.5. So we will not be seeing Malcolm Brogdon up on the PrizePicks board. Let's go ahead and go down here and take a look at some of the guys who are not getting it done from beyond the arc. Evan Fournier at 2.5 3-point makes, minus 188 to go under. I wish we had that up on the board, but we're not going to get it. John Collins at 1.5 3-point makes, also just a 20% hit rate, minus 188 to go under. No John Collins up for the Atlanta Hawks. Derek White for the Spurs, 1.5 3-point makes, a 20% hit rate. He is currently actually a minus 122 go over, which flies in the face of that hit rate. So bettors are thinking that maybe Derek White gets it done tonight. He's another guy that we will not get up on the board. I know I already talked Fred VanVleet, but Gary Trent Jr. is another guy that we should consider. He's gone over 2.5 3-point makes in 4 straight games, 5 against Utah, 5 against Sacktown, 3 against Golden State, and 4 against Memphis. So if you don't like Fred VanVleet, I don't know why you wouldn't with the high hit rate that he's sporting, but maybe you like Gary Trent Jr. You could also go and look at him versus Indiana as well. Otherwise, I'm just not seeing a lot of these low hit rate 3-point shooters up on the PrizePicks board. So it's going to be one of those nights, I think, where we look to take some overs. Devin Booker could be a good option. He's hit 2 or more threes in 5 straight games. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a 100% hit rate, technically at 2 or more 3-point. So I would lean toward the over on Devin Booker on PrizePicks at just 2. If you're getting him at 1.5, you definitely have to take the over. But I think that's going to do it. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of what chat is talking about this morning. Little lighter crowd today than usual, which is to be expected. We're on a holiday. Not everybody's trying to get those sports bets in, those basketball NBA picks in. So that's okay. They can take the day off. Let's go back up to the top here and take some questions. We've got G-Lo, who's dropping LaMelo Ball 3-pointers. Yes, LaMelo Ball has been one that I've been playing recently. And at 2 3-point makes, we have to definitely consider going over on him because he's hit 2 or more in 5 straight games. So that's a 100% hit rate for LaMelo Ball. Let's take a closer look here at Ball. See how this matchup shakes out for him. Tell you what, those who have tuned in this morning, we will make some money today. I have a good feeling about it. So LaMelo at 2.5 3-point makes, 6 out of 10, a 60% hit rate. But if we take this down to 2, that now jumps up to an 86% hit rate. Much better. So he's done a great job of going for 2 or more threes in his last 7 games, a 6 out of 7 hit rate here for LaMelo Ball. Looking at the matchup, it's not the easiest one. Minnesota does do a good job at limiting 3-point field goal percentage. They rank 4th. Very tough team to make a high percentage of your 3-point attempts against. And then they rank 10th in the total amount of threes that they allow to go in. But loving the totals here, 225 implied points with the Charlotte Hornets as 2-point favorites at home. So yeah, I don't mind taking the over on LaMelo Ball. I think that's a good look. Thanks for dropping that one, G-Lo. What else are we talking about here this morning? Yes, Michael says, don't forget to smash the like. Yeah, I don't know that we're going to get to 100 likes today with just 42 viewers this morning. It's going to be a tall task, but, I'll set the bar at 100 and, we'll just have to bounce back Monday morning whenever we're back at it. But it might be tough for us to hit the 100 like number today. Lighter crowd for sure. What else are we talking about? What other props are you guys liking this morning? I'm going through the chat here. Looks like Douglas says Ayton over 15.5 points and Bridges over 3.5 boards. Yeah, so we talked about Bridges, liking Bridges over 1.5 assists. That's been a prop that has been hitting with a pretty high hit rate here in his last 5 games, a 100% hit rate. But if you don't like Bridges assists, you could absolutely check out Bridges over rebounds. 3.5 boards against the Knicks. He's gone over 3.5 boards in 5 straight games. So both his rebounds and his assists have a 100% hit rate. So you can't really ask for much more out of Bridges. So maybe you make an entry where you take Bridges rebounds and 1 entry over, and then you go and make another entry and you hedge. You get off of the rebounds and you move over to the assists for Bridges and you take the over on 1.5 assists just to kind of hedge your bets a little bit in case the rebounds don't work out. Now you've got, the assists sitting out there. Maybe those do end up working out. So I don't mind that strategy either. If there's two props on one player that you really like, make two separate entries and kind of hedge your bets. But yeah, I think Bridges over rebounds or Bridges over assists both look like good ways to go. 100% hit rate in 5 straight games for both of those props. So yeah, we talked about liking some DeAndre Ayton over points as well. Angel says, would you take Brooks at 17.5 points? We talked about him. I don't know if you got in here a little late, Angel, but Brooks is looking a little tricky for me. I don't like him on PrizePicks today. For me, it's probably going to be a fade if he does end up playing. Right now, I think he is a game time decision, but Dylan Brooks at his 18.5 number, I don't know if I love that. At 17.5, I would say you would probably want to take the over, but at 18.5, it's just a little too close for comfort. I don't know. I don't know if I love that. What else do we have here? Bridges. Yep, G-Lo. We talked about Bridges. 1.5 assists, looking like a good move. Beal, 5 assists against OKC. Are we going back? I think we are going back. We talked about Bradley Beal's assists. He had just 1 assist in his last game against the New Orleans Pelicans. I think that number gets a lot higher tonight. Hopefully it's at 5 or more. But yeah, I like going back to a prop right after it missed. I think that's the best time to take it. Byron says Booker and Melo Ball 3-pointers over 2. Yes, I like both of those. I think worst case scenario, you end up in a push situation on both of those props. I think we've talked about both already. Booker and both he and LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball, 2 or more 3-point makes in 5 straight games. That one's looking pretty good. Devin Booker, 2 or more 3-point makes in 5 straight games as well. So both of those, I think you have to take the over on both. What else are we talking about here? Michael says he thinks he's going back to Beal and Conley's assists. Yeah, we don't have Conley up on the board yet for assists, but if we get him back at 5.5 assists, I think we take the over once again. But yes, Beal did fall short the other night. Oma9 says LeBron over fantasy points or Talen Horton-Tucker under fantasy points. So we got to keep an eye on the Los Angeles Lakers injury news. If Anthony Davis is out again, if I think he was the only one out. But yeah, if there's some injury news, then we have to be kind of careful. Looks like AD is currently up on the PrizePicks board at 42 fantasy points. We've got LeBron up at 39. That's still a pretty low number for LeBron. I mean, he dropped 61 without Anthony Davis in the last game against Indiana. That game did go to overtime, so he had 5 extra minutes to pad his fantasy stats. But I do believe he hit the over in regulation, if I'm not mistaken. With 61 fantasy points, I'm pretty sure he did. You mentioned Talen Horton-Tucker as well. At 24 fantasy points, he has fallen short in 4 straight games. He did have a big outburst here of nearly 50 fantasy points back against Milwaukee on the 17th. But all in all, I think those are both pretty decent ways to go. I don't mind that at all, Oma 9. Marcellus, yep, Clint Capella over rebounds or points. I think I like the rebounds more at 11.5 boards. I think that's a very solid way to go on Clint Capella. You could also look at his fantasy points if you play on PrizePicks. 35.5 fantasy points. He's been getting it done in a lot of these games here. 57 against Orlando, 44 against Charlotte, 52 against San Antonio. So it's kind of been feast or famine here, but I'm not really too worried about Steven Adams and the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. So you could also go Clint Capella fantasy points. If you're liking his points and you're liking his rebounds, he's pretty good at getting blocks, steals, which is what he had a lot of in that last game. So yeah, Clint Capella looks like a good play tonight. Osmosis Jones says Isaiah Stewart over 7 rebounds on his return today. 7 rebounds for Isaiah Stewart does sound kind of low. It does sound kind of low. Let's go find Mr. Isaiah Stewart here. Detroit Pistons big man taking on the Los Angeles Clippers. Again, this game tips off at 3:40 today Eastern time, so it's an early tip-off for this game. Of course, he got ejected here against the Lakers after getting his face busted open by LeBron James. But if you look at his last 5 games, he's gone over in just 2 out of 5. Let's pull a projection up here for Isaiah Stewart. Just kind of curious to see what Number Fire has him at. Again, numberfire.com, totally free site for different projections, fantasy points, single stat player props. But they've got Isaiah Stewart at 9.3 rebounds in this matchup. So, yeah, maybe you go back to Isaiah Stewart. He'll probably be matched up with Ivica Zubac, who is at 8.5 boards. He's another guy who's been getting it done more often than not in his last 5 games. So, Isaiah Stewart, it's hard not to like the projections at 9.3, almost 2.5 rebounds higher than where he's at on PrizePicks. What else are we talking about here? Monty also liking the Capella rebounds. Shout out to you, Monty, for sure. Says Steven Adams under points, rebounds, and assists. He only really plays the first half. So if you're liking Steven Adams under points, rebounds, and assists, you can play those on certain sports books, FYI. Then maybe we should also be considering Steven Adams under his fantasy points. Those two props really correlate well together. Points, rebounds, and assists, and fantasy points. Almost the same exact thing. Fantasy points also include blocks and steals. So, Andrew, we talked about Giddey rebounds over already. Shot by Tree liking the Giddey rebounds as well. Says Dort went under on boards last game because he was on fire. Yeah, Dort, I liked him at 3.5 rebounds, I think it was, and I think he ended up falling short. He had 3 rebounds like early on in the game, and dude could not find another rebound for like almost 3/4 of basketball. It was crazy. But yeah, he's been a guy who's more often than not been going for 4 or more rebounds in his last 5 games. So let's pull up Dort real quick. They've got Dort projected for 4.4 boards against the Washington Wizards. So a lot of these OKC rebound props you guys are mentioning. So Giddey was one that really looked good at 6.5. He's gone over in 5 straight games. So I think I saw somebody else mention maybe Basley. Basley was a high hit rate at 6.5 boards. He's gone over in 1, 2, 3, 4 out of his last 5 games. So maybe you consider Basley. Let's pull up a projection for him real quick. Basley, 7.4 projected rebounds, puts him over 6.5. So 3 different ways, man, that look pretty strong here for OKC. These 3 guys seem to be snatching up all the boards with SGA up out of the lineup. What else are we talking about here? We discussed the OKC Washington game. The spread's a little iffy. Shot by Tree says he loves Capella's rebounds. He loves Bridges' assist over, and he's going to check some free throws later when they drop. Yeah, free throws have been low-key really hitting well, especially a guy like James Harden who gets to the line a lot. Maybe some AD, Anthony Davis. He could be another guy you could go to. Kyle Kuzma, for some reason, his name just stuck out to me. He's been rebounding pretty well in most of his games. Right now, last game against New Orleans didn't really go his way, but let's look at Kuzma. He's projected for 8.1 boards. Probably going to fade that one, actually. But I thought I remember him rebounding pretty well. What else are we talking about here, though? Everyday Fantasy says Isaiah Stewart is great at 6 boards. So there you go. Somebody in there is liking some Isaiah Beef Stew Stewart. Mad says, Mad Killa? Mad Kill Yua? I live in Canada. They said I can only be paid through PayPal. Staff sent me the $350 that I wanted to withdraw. More than a week now. Have not received any. Every time I follow up, nobody can help me. And then PrizePicks blocked me on live chat. I can't even follow up for now. Ooh, well, that's ugly. Maybe you could reach out to PrizePicks support. I believe they have a Twitter handle, or reach out to somebody in the official PrizePicks Discord to get that issue resolved. I'm not sure how to help you on that one. Says Basley under points is scary, but hit. Yes, I think he was at 11.5 points in his last game. And Basley has just not been coming anywhere close to hitting 11 or 12 points. If you look at his last 5, I'm going to say last 6 because I know that one was also an under, but 6 games in a row at least here where he's went under 10.5 points. He's just not scoring the basketball a whole lot. So you could go back to Basley under points against Washington tonight. Don't mind that one whatsoever. Aisha says, Hart is the best rebounding small forward. Is Josh Hart considered a small forward? I always thought of him as like a 1 guard, 2 guard, or like a combo guard, but that's crazy. Josh Hart. Apparently he's cleaning the glass. What else are we talking about this morning, folks? Yusuf Nurkic over 9.5 rebounds. Nurkic had an absolute smash of a game the last time he took the floor. I think that was against the Nuggets without Jokic, or maybe I'm mixing that up. Maybe that was 2 games ago, but no, it was against Sacramento. Pulling 17 boards against the Sacramento Kings, had 7 against Denver. That's the game I was referring to. But yeah, overall, 4 out of his last 5 games, guys, 80% hit rate, going over 9.5 boards. Let's pull up a projection here for Nurkic as they take on the Golden State Warriors, a tough matchup. But Nurkic, projected for 10.2 rebounds, has been getting it done here in his last 5 games. So you could go Nurkic. I know Golden State's going to be a tough team, though. That's going to be a tough matchup. Shot by Tree likes Nurkic for the double-double tonight. He's back rolling. Okay, that could be a good look. If you can play the double-double on your favorite sports book, maybe you take Nurkic for the over on the double-double. Nick Guthrie says, late to the party. Hope everyone made a bunch of money on NFL yesterday. NFL was good to me. Definitely profited on some NFL. What else are we talking about? Nick, thank you for being here. I don't mind doing these shows. You're absolutely welcome. Says, Fred VanVleet over from 3 is a vibe. He's going to get the volume. Definitely gets the volume. Fred VanVleet definitely gets the volume. John says, Number Fire does show you 3-point play projections. John, where we got to go for that? If you look more into his projections after looking it up, it gives you a projection for how many threes he's going to make. I've never seen a 3-point, at least not on this screen that I'm looking at here. I do not see a projection for 3-point makes, but nonetheless, I typically use Betting Pros to look at 3-point projections, but thank you, John. I've never seen that anywhere on Number Fire, but maybe you know something I don't. I don't know everything, guys. Says Gary Trent on the radar. Yes, Gary Trent over 3 should be on your radar for sure. Giuseppe says Paul George over points against the Detroit Pistons. Let's talk about some PG-13. We haven't talked a whole lot about him. 26.5 points is his number. He has gone over just 2 times in his last 5 games. I think Marcus Morris is back in the lineup now for the Los Angeles Clippers, right? Are we worried about him stealing some shots from Paul George? I don't know. I know he likes to get his shots off, does Marcus Morris. But Paul George projected for 23.4 points today, guys. That puts him 3 points under his 26.5. Not a very high hit rate. So I don't know that I love PG today. I don't know if I love it. I don't know if I love that one. What else do we have here? What are your 5 favorite props today, CJ? Well, we've talked about 2 Mikal Bridges props, the over on his rebounds, the over on his points. Those both look good. We talked about 2 3-point props, actually 4 3-point props that we were really liking. LaMelo Ball being one at 2 3-point makes. Fred VanVleet at 2.5. Gary Trent Jr. at 2.5. Devin Booker at 2 3-point makes. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go. Like I said, it's hard to narrow it down to just like 5 favorite. I'm probably going to run multiple entries, just to be honest with you. We also like DeAndre Ayton over 15.5 points. We liked Mike Conley Jr.'s assist. He's not up on the board yet, but Mike Conley Jr. over 5.5 assists. I don't mind you going back to Bradley Beal over 5 assists. I don't mind you going Josh Giddey over rebounds. Cade Cunningham also, we haven't talked about him, but at 5.5 assists, that could also be a move. 6, 10, 6, 7. He's gone for over 5.5 assists in 5 straight games, maybe even more. Cade Cunningham's rebounds, also not a bad way to go. 8, 6, 12, and 8. So he's gone over in 4 out of his last 5 games. Let's pull up some projections here on the Rook. He's projected for 6.4 boards, which would put him over, and 5 assists, which would put him slightly under. So it looks like maybe the rebounds is the better way to go. But Cade Cunningham, high hit rates in his last 5 games on both assists and rebounds. So lots of different options. Eric. Duran's liking Dort under 3s. Okay. Dort under 3s. Let's look at Lou Dort. 2.5 threes. That seems Yeah, that seems kind of high, but dang, look at these hit rates. 4, 2, 4, 3, and 5. He's gone over 2.5 in 4 out of 5 games. That might be playing with fire here. I don't know if I like that against Washington. Melo has been money. Yes, Melo has been balling. Said, I like that one. Ray Cam TV says, Grayson Allen over 3-pointers made. Do we have Grayson Allen up on the board? We don't just yet, but yeah, Grayson Allen typically gets a good amount of threes. Igor likes Trae Young to go over his points prop today. Let's look at Ice Trae. Trae Young. Where's he at? He's at 24.5 points versus Memphis, taking on another young guard. This should be a fun matchup. Ja Morant versus Trae Young. But 24.5 points, he's gone over in 3 out of 5. So 60% hit rate. Not terrible. Not terrible. Let's see if I can pull a projection up for Trae Young for you. That's Thaddeus Young. Trae Young is at 22.5. So they like the under by 2 points versus Trae Young at 24.5. Be careful with that one. I think there's better ways to go. Safer ways to go, hopefully, than this Trae Young point prop. Says he thinks after the replays I'll get to 100. Well, hopefully, if all 53 of you drop a like, we'll be on a pretty good pace for going over 100 likes once again. But I think people are preoccupied this morning and today in general with all the shopping and holiday hangover and all that stuff. So we'll see what happens. Said I ain't mad at it though. If we fall short of 100, I know Monday morning I'll be right back here doing my thing, and you guys will have my back. So we'll see what happens. We also are like 18 subs or maybe 13 subs away from like 2,600 subscribers. Of course, the big goal is to get to 3,000 subs by January 1st. So that's the longer term goal. Difficult goal. That would mean like 400 new subs in the month of December. But I think we can make it happen, guys. With the power of the people like you, we could definitely make it happen. Aisha says, Bridges now at 2 assists. Is that true? Oh no. You guys must have been slamming the over on Bridges and his assists. I refreshed. Let's go look. Guys, it's true. Mikal Bridges is now at 2 assists. So if you want to fade this because you think it pushes, go over to his rebounds and take the over on those, because that still has a very good high hit rate, 4.4666. So he's gone over 3.5 boards. So maybe this becomes a little bit more of my favorite way to play Bridges today, now that his assists have jumped up to 2. Thanks for pointing that out, though, Aisha. Mr. Shink, is it normal for the share your location screen to come up? Are you talking about through the PrizePicks app, share your location? They do need to know where you're trying to place an entry from if you're playing on PrizePicks. Yes, that is normal. Will says Spencer Dinwiddie under 30 fantasy points. Spencer Dinwiddie under 30 fantasy points. I had Dinwiddie over 1.5 3-point makes. It let me down last game, but that might be another one that I go back to. As I mentioned before, I like going right back to guys. When they fall short, I go right back to it and see what happens the next game. But yeah, Dinwiddie under 30 points. He's gone over in 2 out of, 5 games? So not a super high hit rate. Let's get a projection for you. 28.4 projected fantasy points. So that puts him under 30. You could go there. You definitely could go there. And I mentioned his 3-point prop, liking the over, even though it let me down last game. At 1.5 threes, he's got a pretty decent hit rate in his last 5 games. And he really shot bad against New Orleans. I think he ended up going like 1 for 6 or 1 for 8 or something like that. I think this is a good bounce back spot against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Go back to Spencer Dinwiddie, maybe over 1.5 threes. What else are we talking about, though? We're going to wrap this up here. We're over an hour. Hopefully some winning picks will come out of today's stream. I think we've landed on some very good ones so far. Everyday Fantasy likes Montrezl Harrell over 14.5 points. Trez for the Washington Wizards, 13.5. You like them over 14.5. So if you like him over 14.5, then maybe we should really, really like him over 13.5. He's gone over 13.5, though, just 2 out of 5 games. So that's just a 40% hit rate. Looking a little bit tough here for Montrez. They got him projected for 11.4 points. But you really like it against OKC, huh? It's interesting. I'll have to dive in a little bit deeper on Montrezl Harrell at 13.5. Yeah, we talked about Cade Cunningham at 5.5 assists. I would definitely lean toward the over on his assist or on his rebounds. We got Master Yoda up in the chat. Master Yoda, I hope you used your little green thumb to hit the like button, buddy. It's good to see you. We got Master Yoda up in here. Yusuf Nurkic boards against the Warriors should be good. Yoda is a Warriors fan, y'all. Master Yoda is a Warriors fan. That is amazing. Learning new things all the time. DeMar DeRozan over 4 assists. DeMar DeRozan over 4 assists. DeRozan's been struggling a little bit to at least to score the ball, but his assists look like they've been hitting pretty well. 80% hit rate in his last 5 games. You know, these hit rates aren't the end-all be-all. We got to look at some other things, but they are a good place to just kind of start your research. DeRozan projected for nearly 6 assists tonight against my Orlando Magic. So that's almost 2 whole assists higher than where he's at tonight at 4. Yeah, I don't mind that. Take a shot on some DeRozan. I wouldn't go crazy with it, but it could happen. What about Murray versus Boston? His points. DeJounte Murray, I'm going to kill this guy's name every time. DeJounte Murray has been very good in terms of fantasy points. He's kind of a do-it-all guard for the Spurs. I've been smashing the over on his fantasy points, and it's been working out for me. His real-life points, let's look at those. 22, 26, just has a bad game against Minnesota with just 7. 18, though, and 22 against a couple of tough teams in Phoenix and Atlanta. So, yeah, he's gone over 17, 5, and 4 out of 5. So, pretty high hit rate in his last 5. Let's look at Murray real quick. They got him projected for 16.5, so they like him to go under by about a point. But again, check some of those other resources I mentioned, RotoWire, Betting Pros. They've got some free player props for you, so maybe you can cross-reference and come out with a better conclusion. Tatum free throws over if Brown sits. Absolutely. Tatum's been another guy who's been on fire. I don't mind Jason Tatum taking the free throws on him, taking the rebounds too. If he's at 7.5 boards again, I smashed the over on that the other night against Brooklyn, and he ended up coming through clutch. Tatum's rebounds have been very, very hot for me. Murray assists. Okay, so if maybe you don't like Murray's points, maybe you like his assists better, you could play Murray's assists. Not seeing him up on the PrizePicks board, but he is projected for about 7 assists. Scotty Barnes rebounds. Yeah, Barnes, I like the assist at 3.5. His rebounds have been pretty good too. We got to keep an eye on the OG Anunoby news. But man, his rebounds are all the way up to 7.5 now. And he's gone over, in 3 out of 5? I don't know. It's getting harder for me to click the over on Scotty Barnes rebounds up at 7.5. He is projected for 8. But yeah, let's take a look at the OG Anunoby news tonight. Let's wait and see on that before we lock any Scotty Barnes in. That's going to be it, guys. I think I'm going to get up out of here. It's Black Friday. I got an Orlando Magic versus Chicago Bulls game to get ready for tonight at 7 p.m. I'm stoked to see my Magic probably get stomped out by the Bulls, but it'll be fun to get out and do something different, go to a game tonight. So hopefully you guys have some fun today, have something going on. Hopefully you're off of work, you're not having to work today, but I appreciate all your support. Hopefully the picks that we talked about in today's video, I think we landed on some good ones. I think there's some very solid ways to go on today's PrizePicks NBA player prop tip. So anyway, I hope they work out for you. Good luck tonight. I will catch you probably Monday morning. Probably going to take it easy this weekend and look to make some money on some NBA tonight and some NFL this weekend. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate all your support. We'll catch you in the next one. All right. Peace.